Welcome to Rewriting Real Estate, Millionaire Moves and Modern Tactics with your host, Kimberly, a coach, mentor and strategist for agents who are ready to scale smarter. On this show, you'll learn from high-performing agents who are building their empires with innovation, intention and no apologies. Whether you're an experienced agent stuck at a plateau or a rising star ready to fast-track your success, this podcast gives you the real-world tactics, mindset shifts, and lessons learned from those rewriting the rules.
Well, Yvonne, I'm so excited to have you on. I really am. We've met in person. I've known you through the Tom Ferry ecosystem, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about your journey in real estate, in coaching, and now consulting. And, you just keep getting bigger and better. And I know you as the scary systems person because I'm not a systems person. And one of my favorite memory of you was talking to you in person in Dallas, and I said something and you just totally called me down on it. You're like, you're in your own way and you're not doing what you're saying you told yourself you do. I'm like, oh yeah.
Oh, that. And I had already gotten you to buy me a martini to do that.
But the other best part about that conversation was I was comparing myself to a lot of people, and you're like, just so you know, not always what you see online is truth. Many people that are showing themselves as this and you're comparing yourself to here are actually falling apart behind the scenes. Trust who you are and what you're doing. I'm like, well, I've repeated that so many times.
Oh, I tell you what, that is probably a mantra I've got right now, heavily, double duty. Because as we've seen over the last 5-6 years, we've seen a lot of people on stage and a lot of people touting what your model should be and how big you should go and how you should be doing their marketing and all of those things. And what we found out was that once you got under the hood, as I have been saying for decades, that isn't what you actually have.
Right.
And also there's multiple models, so many different models. And I like a profitable model. And it doesn't matter which model you choose. It just needs to be profitable. So
that's
you
what
can
my
be a
husband would
solo
say too.
Exactly. And I was coached long ago by my husband. So that was, I think it's funny because I always tell the story. And I was on my group call today, and we'll talk about, you said what I'm doing now and that kind of thing. So my group call today, and I was talking about when I was in the heyday and I would stress out about, oh my God, my tenant gave me his 60-day notice. What am I going to do? I'm going to be out of house payment. And then I've got, John and I had another house payment and we were buying investment properties and I'm stressing out. And John would just say, how are you going to get another deal today? He would take it down to the most simplistic because he knew he was more of actually an operator and an analyzer. He's like the analyst, the very disc personality of a C, over analysis paralysis almost. But he would break it down, and he knew that someone like me or like you were forward front people, right? Mm-hmm. We're out in front. And so we see everything very on the emotional side. And he would just break it down to the simplest thing. How are you going to get a deal this week?
That's right.
And I'd go, then I'd say things like, okay, I need $1,500 to do a mailer because I just been on a call with a coach or with a group or in a seminar telling me I need to go geo-farm.
Exactly.
And
I'm going to farm
see,
tomorrow.
I was everything all of you have been or are.
Right.
And he goes, no, you have no funds to do anything with. And you need to go out and get a deal this week. How you gonna do it?
I love it. So backing up, John is your husband.
Yes.
Okay.
My husband.
Okay. And then has been like a business partner with you?
For 30 some years. So let me take you back in time.
Yes.
So we'll do a little history lesson.
Who were you in the beginning of all of this?
That's I. Exactly. And a lot of people have heard this story. I've told it many times. But I was raised and born into a real estate family. Okay. And I'm the youngest of 4 siblings, and I'm 9 years behind the next one up, 14 years behind my brother, and 15 years behind my oldest sister.
Wow.
So I grew up almost like an only child because by the time I was 9, everybody was out of the house. My brother had gone to the Air Force, came back, and in 1976, 77, had opened up a brokerage. In 78, I was 14 years old. And I would walk from school, middle school, junior high, and I would go over to his office. And in the afternoon, 2, 3 o'clock, my job was to make another fresh pot of coffee in the afternoon and to answer the phones. And I had to take all the magazine ads that they had and the Green Sheet and the Press Enterprise and cut all the ads out, tape them into a notebook, tape it, and then answer the phones. And when they called on the phone, I would say, and he coached me on what to say. He said, ask them what advertisement they're calling from and what property they're looking at. So I would say, Icono Realty, how may I help you? And they would say, I'm calling on 1234 Main Street. And I'd say, great. What advertisement are you looking at? The Penny Saver, the Green Sheet? Oh, I'm looking at the Penny Saver. I'd put a tick mark next to the ad cutout of the Penny Saver. And then I would transfer the call to an agent on floor.
Wow.
And so I remember way back, a decade or more ago, Bill Pipes interviewed me. I told that story and he goes, you were the original ISA.
Exactly. I was
said,
just thinking that.
I said I was before the acronym was even created.
Right.
And I always tell people, if a 14-year-old can do it, so can you.
You're also the
So-
original CRM.
I was the original CRM. I was the original. How many lead sources? The data, right? How many?
All of it,
what-
yeah.
Which ad are we going to put in next week? Because we got so many calls from it this week. Are we going to advertise more money in it next week?
That's
I learned
brilliant.
that at a very young age. So that was my beginnings. And then I always said I was never going to be in real estate. I would tell my parents and my family, I'm never going to be in real estate. By the time I hit 18, I graduated high school and went straight to Escrow. So I was an escrow secretary when I got out of high school, never went to college. And I learned the back end of the escrow business. Then 1985, I became a title rep for a title company in California. And I did about a 12-year stint. Let's see, 85, 95. Yeah, about a 10, 12-year stint, somewhere in there with title. And I did all aspects of title. So I was a resale rep. I also was a subdivision rep. So I covered a large territory of Southern California. And in 1984, 85, 86, Southern California and the Inland Empire, which is what the two counties are called, was going through a real estate boom. So new subdivisions and new construction was everywhere. And so I got my feet wet in that side of the business. And then in 1994, I decided to leave corporate world. And it just didn't fit me because I am a black and white girl. There's not too much gray area in my life. And I was dating John, and his parents owned the Remax offices
Oh,
in
wow.
Corona and Riverside. So they were the franchise owners, and I left title, and I left in 1994 foreclosure market of Southern California because we had lost the aerospace industry in California. And they all moved to Seattle and places like that. Boeing and all of those left. So we had a foreclosure market when everybody else in the country did not. And I left a good paying job in 1994 and went to work in real estate with my husband. At the time, boyfriend.
Right.
And yeah, then I got very lucky though, because John was a general contractor in real estate in California, building custom homes. My dad was a custom home builder, so we're both from the same backgrounds. His mom was the top agent in the area. So I got to learn from
The best.
really great, smart people, the best. And so that was my start of my real estate career, true career. I got licensed in 89, but I didn't really use it until then. And then from 94, started in a tough market, right? It's foreclosure market, and we crushed it. And so I always tell people, if you start in a hard market, if that's when you start your career in real estate, you will absolutely be awesome.
Yeah, it
you
makes
will
sense.
learn
Yeah.
to thrive.
Yeah.
So that was that. And then the coaching stuff was very interesting to me because I'd never been introduced to any of it.
Interesting.
That was his introduction to Mike Ferry. And then he introduced me in 1995. He took me to my first Mike Ferry superstar retreat in Palm Desert. And I was hooked. But again, my husband, super frugal, doesn't spend money on leads, doesn't spend money on coaching. I said, I want to join. He goes, nope, but go back in the back. Here's the credit card and get all of the CDs and cassettes and everything. if I open my closet right now, and so that was my experience with the Mike Ferry training. I actually met Tom on a golf course at Bighorn Golf Course when he was riding around with his dad, who was playing in the tournament at the time. And that was long before I ever saw Tom on stage. And then saw Tom on stage for the first time around 1997. And then never hired them for coaching. We did everything. We implemented what we saw at their events. And then didn't hire them until 2007 when I hired Kay Fairchild, who was Tom's coach. And Kay was my coach in 07. And the reason we did that is I didn't tell my husband. I said, I did. I have been everybody, all of you are. Whoever's listening to this, I have been you, okay? In every aspect.
Right.
Didn't tell my husband, didn't use my own little green American Express credit card that he had no access to. And I went to an event because it was 07. I'll never forget. It was January 07. We had 2003 gone to Idaho. Okay. Found our happy place. Husband started looking for developments there. Ended up developing a subdivision there and several other projects. And then the market crashed. But we didn't know it was coming. We just knew something was coming in January of 07 because we'd been through several crashes. So you have a sense of them, but you don't exactly know how they're going to start. 07, I went to this event called the TAG event, the appointment game. And it was 3 days in Riverside Convention Center. And you only went half day. And Tom would coach you up for half a day and you'd go back to your office and you'd make your calls that you coached on. And there was a room of 1,000 people. So you were just doing it, right? First day, I'm in the back row. Second day, I'm in the middle of the room. Third day, I'm in the front row. And I'm signing up for coaching and going, shit, John's going to kill me. It was like $500 a month. And I'm like, oh my God, we've never done this. His theory was, you don't need to bill a monthly VIG. I don't want the monthly VIG. So I went back and signed up. I got Kay Fairchild as my coach, who was awesome. And she helped me through. John was up in Idaho developing. My mother-in-law had semi-retired because we had built this family business. I was selling by myself in California and doing about 20 deals a year. Well, by July of 2007, we started seeing foreclosure assignments coming into our inboxes because we were still in the systems from the late 90s. So she helped me build a team. She helped me bring everybody back together, hire an assistant, get people involved, basically put the group back together, the band back together. And we went from me doing 20 deals a year to doing 125 deals a year.
Whoa.
In one 12-month period. And I had to learn how to systematize all of that. That was in 2008, 9, 10. By 9, I had been 2 years in coaching and I was like, hey, Kay, you've been great. I'm ready to leave because I don't care what anybody says. Let's talk about coaching for a little bit. And you'll have your own take on this because you've been in the coaching world and you've been a coach and you've been coached. There is a lifespan of 2 to 3 years of a client. By that time, there's a bunch of lifers in the system that like to stay in their grouping, whatever coach it is in the world, Buffini or anywhere else. There are lifers that will stay in. But the majority of people, it's a constant retention and renewal. You have to constantly bring new people in, retain the ones you have.
Right.
I was done after 2 years. I'm like, thank you so much. It's been great. Kay says, do you want to be a coach? Hadn't really thought about it. And so by 2009, I went to a couple of their coaches events. And so I went in kicking and screaming and didn't really want to do it and took on 4 or 5 clients and was like, ugh, they don't want to get up in the morning. I don't understand that concept because that wasn't me. It's like, I can't coach people that don't actually already have the motivation to go work.
Right.
And in 2009, a lot of people were losing their own houses because it was a crash. They were losing their houses. They didn't have REO accounts. They didn't know how to work the buyers and get buyers to sell them REO houses. And we were in the number 4 market of the country for distressed properties.
Wow.
The Inland Empire. So when I look at that whole picture, I was like, God, how did I end up staying as a coach for so long? because I really didn't want to do it. And so it took a couple of years for me to really get back into it. But what happened was I had to go up in 2011, 10 and 11, and I had to protect our interest of our property up there. We had a 35 lot subdivision that the bank was trying to crash the commercial loan on. And so there was a lot of factors in there. So I went up there and coaching helped me to actually open up more deals up in Idaho. So I started selling in Idaho while my husband was down in California doing REOs with his mom. And I was coaching as well. So I learned a lot in those early days. And then by the time 2013 and 14 came around, I started operationalizing myself in a much higher level way using technology because we were getting all of this tech coming in. And so I started having to say, wait, that's no good. I don't want that tech. I'm going to use this one. What do I do this with this? And so that's created my knowledge of the tech stack and then using it.
Right.
So
Right.
early adopter there. And then I just kept working my way up the ranks through Tom's company. And COVID was actually what put me on the map for speaking because I had done what he asked. He put out to the coaches, COVID was brand new. And he goes, who's doing virtual listing presentations? 5 years earlier, I had started doing virtual listing presentations with my production partner, called now a production partner, but my partner, Jim, because I wanted to be in Idaho and he was in California as my boots on the ground.
Right.
So I said, I do them. We do them on FaceTime, but we just started transitioning it over to Zoom. And you're on and you're going to talk about it. And that was the first presentation that I did. And then I ended up doing Virtual Edge and Ops Excellence and a lot of the other speaking gigs during COVID to keep people going forward.
Right.
So that 16 years with Tom, and it was fabulous. I have massive amounts of gratitude to him because he opened doors that I would have never had if I hadn't been there. And then I had to take those doors. The door was open, but then I had to, what am I going to do with this door? So now last June, I branched out and I said, you know what? I'm going to be 61 this year. That was last year. I'm going to be 62 this year. I need to go build what I have a passion about because operation systems and processes is not sexy in our industry. People don't, like you said, she's the scary systems coach. I love that, by the way. So when you think about that, you go, but wait, what's happening is when you realize you don't even have a system of how you launch a listing. That's a system, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a tech stack that you actually have everything in one place where you can oversee your transactions with your TC or your VA or your ops person. And so that's now what I dive into. So that's what I started. And I started my own consulting business for that, as well as a built to profit school inside school, the school community. I built a community called Built to Profit. And that's a group call once a week. And I basically talk about all of this stuff. And then there are classes in there that are evergreen and you can go watch the recordings and pull out I have job descriptions and contracts and just everything that you need to help you build a business.
I love that. I love that. So you've been
Oh,
in
and
the,
then
in,
the
go ahead,
podcast
Sarah.
that you're going to be on.
But like with all this, so many decades in the industry, in your opinion, what has stayed the same and then what has radically changed?
First off, more has stayed the same than what most people will want you to believe right now. Our industry is full of people with a lot of opinions, and their opinions come from less than 10 years of experience.
Good point.
Okay. And that's not dissing the people out there. There's a lot of smart people that have gone into our industry in the last 10 years. However, the knowledge that I know is missing, that is not the same, is true training of how to be a real estate agent is almost non-existent.
Good point.
It's if team leaders, now we have these teams, right? So I was one of the first coaches that started with the team program that they had over there. And team leaders didn't even understand what a team program of building a team meant when we started the program. And team leaders have failed their own teams because they don't train anybody. They bought a bunch of leads because they were told to buy leads. And now they got a bunch of leads, so they had to add bodies. How different is that than the old school brokerages that just added bodies and said, here's your cards, here's a sign, any more you want, order your own, go sell some real estate. Okay. So I was from old school training. And so when I said we would go to an event and actually buy the stuff and go back and implement it, I role played by myself. I didn't use an excuse of I don't have a role play partner. I learned all my scripts that I needed, which was door knocking scripts, open house scripts, buyer and seller qualifying scripts. I learned those on my own. I would literally learn them like an actress learns their lines.
That's true. Yeah.
They say them out loud really fast 3 times. Then you say them regular, and then you remove the script from your site and you have to verbatim, right? You cannot, everybody goes, oh, you don't need a script for that. BS. Anybody listening to this who's been told you don't need to learn a script is BS. That you just need to learn how words work. You know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
You need to be what is that called? What's that guy? He is a word technician or whatever. Okay. First off, nope, you need a script because what do realtors do?
You say the same thing over and over again.
And they just talk.
Yeah.
And they talk at people.
That's right.
So if I have somebody talk, like right now, you're getting a ton of information out of me because you asked me a question and I'm pouring it into you, my answer. If I flip the script and now I ask you the questions, I'm going to get a bunch out of you. But if I can talk at you like I'm doing, I know nothing about you.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Your buyers and sellers are no different. So if you walk into a conversation with a buyer or seller and all you're doing is giving them information, talking at them, what the market's doing, because they go, how's the market? And what do you do? You don't say, why are you asking?
Yeah. What do you know about it? Yeah. We assume that we know what they're actually asking, which we don't know where they're coming from.
Nope,
you got to find that foundational part.
Exactly. You have to know what is it that they want to know for.
If somebody said, what'd you think of that movie? I heard this movie just came out. What'd you think of it? Just to say what I thought of it, there's no foundations. Oh, what have you heard about it? What makes you want to know about it? Why would you think you want to go? Versus me, I could say, oh my gosh, it's the most romantic rom-com I've ever heard. And maybe they're going through a divorce. That's the last thing they want to hear. And so it's like, you got to know the context of the question.
Exactly. It's if I said to you, Kimberly, what CRM do you use?
Right.
Okay. You can say, I use this one and you should get it. And it's the best. However, did I do my due diligence? Did I find out what is it you like about it? How often do you use it? Do you ever go into the mobile app? What's your mobile app like? How many leads do you have in there? How many people do you talk to in there? Do you have your transaction management system set up with it? Right. What do you integrate with it? If I don't ask you all of those questions, I just say, what CRM do you use?
Yeah.
You're getting bad advice.
I actually think that the team leads or the brokers or whomever, I think should start at the real estate schools. I think they should be teaching agents how to start a business, how to build a business, how to be a professional, treat you as a professional. It does not matter what the riparian rates are or what the acreage is anymore. Because that's like circa 1972 or when they started those schools. They didn't have phones back then. So now, like, all those dumb test questions that we learn about, we're just learning to test for the test. We're not actually learning what I think. Correct. The school should be building up an amazing professional so as to avoid a NAR settlement, so as to allow the agent to be a professional from day one and have a business that is actually a professional business where you are elevated yourself. It's crazy.
And you should not really be able to pass go without being able to know some of that.
All we learn about is real estate math and facts that do not matter in today's day and age. It's antiquated. And yet you're letting these kids come out and put signs in the yard and take care of people's biggest equity that they have in life and treat it like it's a social media project. They're not treating it like a true foundational relationship, trusting the hundreds of thousands of dollars that they're protecting. I just find it fascinating.
It's a reel.
It's a reel. It's a reel.
It's not a movie. It's a reel. It's not a Lifetime movie that goes on and has a series. It's just a reel. And so the training, you said, going back to your original question of what's different now, what's changes, we have a lack of training in the industry. I'm not sure. I know that people are starting to address it. I know that agents want the help. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do what I do.
That's right. That's right.
And so I also know that there is a bunch of agents who know how to sell real estate. They actually do know how to sell real estate. They've been in the business for 10, 15, 20 years, and they have a good book of business that they already do. They're selling 30, 40, 50 houses a year or more. They have built small teams, all of that. However, when we get under the hood, they're not profitable.
Right.
And so that's the other side of the coin that nobody ever taught any of us, was how to run a business. And so when I look at that, I say, okay, who's teaching that? There's a few people, but not many. And then what do you need? You don't need a lot. And this is where the whole team program and go build a big giant mega team and just keep recruiting. So this is where the very first questions you have to ask yourself or ask an agent who you're talking to is, what model do you want?
True.
Do you even know? So I was talking to one of my private clients last week, and she was a broker owner. She also she sold her brokerage to another big brokerage. They absorbed her, which is great. She has a small team. And I said, what model do you want? And I could tell we've been working together for a little while. She still hadn't landed on it yet. And she sent me examples of somebody she wanted me to see that she thought she should model. And I said, first off, okay, you're in the United States and this person's in Canada. They have a completely different real estate model in Canada than we have here.
Right.
That's number one issue. Yes, she has a past client sphere business because Canada doesn't have Zillow. So again, do you want to be a big company? Do you want to be the front face, but have a bunch of 20 people selling real estate under your name? And that means I have to take you out of production. Are you ready for that? And she went, that's not exactly what I had in mind. So see, this is where it takes time to figure out what model you are. When John and I were in the biz, my in-laws were the broker owners, RE/MAX franchise owners, okay? We were there for 24 years. John and I got asked multiple times to go into meetings to go open different brokerages. Come open a Keller Williams. Come open a Coldwell Banker. Come over here and partner with us over here.
I agree.
And when you're a producing agent and that's your primary income, and you're coming to someone like me, I go like this. Do you want to build rev? Sure. Do you want to run a brokerage? Because it can be any franchise name. Put whatever name you want on there. This side of your business, the production business, is going to pay for this to be built.
That's true. Because even independent brokerage, like a RE/MAX brokerage, they're still building their downline because every agent they bring in brings them a bit of money. So it's saying to like
It's
unlicensed brokerage if you're in a downline type of brokerage. So it's very similar.
It's just recruiting. That's all it is. And you recruit in any aspect. You're a solo agent that wants a SEAL team. You have to recruit some agents.
Right.
You're a team lead that wants a mega team. You have to recruit agents.
100%. Everybody, but there's the tagline on how it's bad. There's not a day goes by or a week goes by that I'm not getting messaging or packages or something from other brokerages. I find it very flattering because somewhere I've been put into their algorithm of you could be somebody with us, which is great.
Sure.
I find it very flattering, but I find it interesting how the word recruiting sounds so unflattering. It's the same thing. Shoot, a dental practice has to recruit patients. So every business under the sun is recruiting. A hairdresser has to recruit more people. But it's just that
But think
word
about
sounds
this.
bad, right?
For eons, we have recruited buyers and sellers.
Good
That's all
point.
you're doing. You're marketing to get someone
To choose you
that
versus that person.
to choose you versus someone else who will eventually become a dollar in your bank account.
And then the big goal is to not only be a dollar, but to be a person that you have a relationship with such that they become multiple dollars.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the transactional agent versus the relationship agent. Okay. Because the transactional agent is taking a big punch in the gut right now.
Yeah.
Everybody
And I've been both.
wants
I've been both in my life because I've reinvented myself many times. And for one year of my life, I'm like, all I want to make is X amount so that my kids can go to these summer camps in the summer. Once I make that, I'm done for the year. So there was zero relationship. It was just about making the dollar amount. And the second I made it, which was in February of that year, I was done for the year. And then I was a stay-at-home mom for the rest of the year. So I wasn't building a business. I was just creating transactions. And it was fine. It was not nearly as much fun as the relationship piece, to be honest with you.
So this is where
But you can do both. You can do either.
Yes, you can do them both at the same time. The catch is that you have to understand in either of them, we are here to make wealth.
Right.
Profit
And we
wealth.
shouldn't apologize.
We should not apologize for that. Exactly. Okay. In our career, we were probably more heavier on the transactional side, and I call myself a real estate technician. I'm not a touchy-feely person to start with. I don't have a whole lot of private friends. My group is very small, and because believe it or not, I'm an introverted extrovert. I would much rather not, if I'm on Zoom all day, I love to never talk again for the next 24 hours. Okay. I'm not somebody who calls my friends up and chats on the phone, or I'm not somebody who gets people together to do fun events or pool parties or anything. I am not that person. So my natural state is not to be relational. Okay. Have I made some really great relationships in this industry? You bet.
Yeah.
They're some of my best, right? However, transactional is first, because you can also build something that says, hey, I'm going to be transactional and I'm okay with that. And yeah, I'm going to tap my database, but I'm taking that money and what we used to say, we work for tips, and we're going to put that into these investments over here and this rental property here and build this duplex over here and this trailer park over here, because we were building our future retirement and wealth. See, now what I coach is I say, hey, do both. If you're transactional, that's okay. Do not shy away from it and don't apologize for it. However, you do need to have some relationships that are close to you, like a production partner or two. And one of those production partners should be somebody who's going to take over your business, and you're going to spend the next 2 to 3 years forming them into the mini you that your future clients, they're going to just market to, and that legacy keeps growing. It doesn't have to be you. However, you are collecting a percentage, no matter there's different percentages we work with.
Yeah.
So then you can go run your trailer park or your yogurt business or your yoga school or whatever you want to do when you hit 60 or 65 or you want to play golf, right? So I'm a fan of figuring out how do you take what you do every day and make it so that it doesn't die. It keeps going and it benefits the next generation coming in. And that doesn't have to be a son or a daughter of your own.
Yeah.
It can be another person. And they understand that they have to do some things for 2 years, 3 years for less money because they're inheriting a legacy.
I love that.
And
I love that.
that's what I think is really missing out there right now. Training, just basic training. Basic training is really, I'm teaching people, like, what do you do on a buyer consult?
You're going back to the basics.
I'm doing basics. And I interviewed, now how does that tie to operation systems and processes? I'll tell you. You interview 5 or 6 people and you ask them, tell me your process of doing buyer calls in, you call them, whatever. What happens from that point forward? And I let them talk and I write things down. I did 5 interviews with people and they did not have a set process with any kind of process every single time they talked to somebody. They did it different and winged it every single time. That is not scalable or duplicatable to even one other person you want to teach how you've built your business.
Yeah, it's true.
So I went
You're
through
not building an
here's the
operational
plan.
manual that you can hand off and say, hey, this agent, be me for a day because I'm going to Europe. If you're not doing that, you can't do that.
Exactly. And then now with technology and AI, I mean, it's just
Takes no time at
easy
all.
peasy. No
Yeah.
time at all. And especially when everybody wants to share all of their info.
Yeah.
Our industry is probably sharing more than we've ever shared in history.
It's true. It used to be like, oh, I have got a secret sauce. When I first got in the business, that's the way it was.
Yep.
It's very competitive and I won't share my information because you might compete with me. But I've always used the analogy of it's like dating. You could line 10 agents against the wall and why someone chooses that person is an individual chemistry. It's like when I was single, go to the bar with my friends and who would flirt with me would flirt with my friend just because it's a chemistry thing. So I've never thought of this industry as competitive. I'm like, there's plenty to go around and I'm not going to get chosen over that person just for individual reasons. The way I talk, the way I act is individual to me, and who is attracted to me is because of my history and my personality and all this stuff. So I've never thought that holding back your secrets on anything in this business is smart. I think it's share it to everybody.
And if you share it, we have always had a theory of if you share it to 100 people, if 1 or 2 of them actually use it and duplicate it, you're lucky.
Yeah. And they're going to be in different areas. Like, even though I'm in the Tampa Bay area, even if I share it with somebody that was sat next to me in an office, we still have a different area.
Hey, listen, humans are humans. And I know after close to 2 decades of coaching and being with agents, change is not easy.
No.
So getting somebody to just change how they ask questions to a buyer lead coming in to qualify them first, move them to a Zoom call to do the strategy of the buyer consult of what the process of buying is going to be, to move them to the next stage of an appointment in your car on Saturday to go see houses if they're a fully qualified buyer, ready to go. And if they're not a fully qualified buyer, keep them in your database, stick them in a drip, and then check in with them in 30 days to see if they fixed their credit.
That's right.
Don't waste any time because there's lots of people out there you need to get to help.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Just to get an agent to move through that process and change what they're doing and create some habits around it is almost, I don't know. It's like, it's so hard. Right?
But that's why coaching is good. And that's why, so you've moved from top grade coaching, you've started your own consulting business and it's called Arnold Consulting.
Yeah, it's Arnold Consulting. It's just me.
And who is it designed for?
So I have a couple of different things that I built. Okay. The number one thing is I said, you know what? I had people in my schedule for 10 and 12 years. People would go, I want to coach with you. And I go, sorry, I don't have any openings because people didn't leave. Okay. Which is very flattering.
Yeah.
It's a good testament. It's very flattering. However, in my opinion, it's not beneficial to the person who's paying.
Right. That's even, I know that Tom Ferry said before, you should graduate out of your coach. Like you should learn everything from a coach and then graduate to a different coach for your new pain points, because with every level is a new devil. And so you hope that you graduate upper from a coach so that
a lot of people
it's not therapy anymore.
And that's it. They don't want to do that. They don't want to bare their soul to another new person because you do end up sometimes bearing your soul to your coach.
Oh, you do. Yeah.
Okay? And your coach is tapping into some spots that are little sore spots, right? They're weak spots. So you build those relationships. I was very proud of the fact that, yes, I made friends outside with some of my clients and to this day still connect with them. However, on our calls, they paid me to be their coach, not their friend.
Right.
And so I was not easy on them, and it didn't matter how many years they were with me. And so that was number one. So now what I did is I said, okay, I want to go deep and really heavy in helping people build what they really need to build, which means I have to usually deconstruct what they've already done and reconstruct it with them the right way. Okay. So I did a 6-month program. It's 6 months. It's intense, and you're in it 6 months. And at the end of 6 months, if you haven't moved the needle on what we have been designing, you haven't hired your first operations manager, you haven't restructured your contracts and your commission splits with your team members that you're paying way too much in your cost of sales for, if you haven't got contracts for everybody, if you haven't set up a tech stack, okay? At the end of 6 months, this has been great. You're awesome, but you're not invited back for another 6 months
Because you
failed the 6-month test. And it's not a failure. It's just, this probably wasn't what you really wanted.
might have been too meaty, too big for you.
You weren't ready, or you will never be ready, and you will continue to work the same way you are. There's no judgment.
No.
I know what the outcome in 10 years or 5 years or 20 years of that's going to be. I know what that outcome is going to be. You're working and you're showing buyers and you're going on listings when you're 70 and 75 years old.
Well, it's what they say, and I've been guilty of this many times, where it's like you just keep redoing the same year over and over again.
Yeah. Groundhog Day.
I mean,
And
you're
that's
still
okay.
growing and you're still making money, and you still might be making
You're making money.
the money that you want to make, but you're losing.
Doing the same thing.
Yeah, and you're losing the ability to do less and make more. You know,
I'm going to relate analogy here. You went on a raw foods cleanse and you eat clean, but you never work out and you don't eat any protein. You're going to lose muscle mass, but you'll be thin. Okay. This is the problem with our businesses. We're going to have production. Okay. We're not going to have all of these supposed operation systems, processes, all of that, but you're not going to have any muscle behind you. You won't have the people that can help you not have to show when you don't want to show a house, not have to list when you don't want to list a house. You don't have any meat and muscle behind you. And I believe that everybody right now should have some sort of a SEAL team, small team model that has some muscle behind it. And that's what I build. So in 6 months, they pay their flat fee or whatever, and it's a set partnership program for 6 months. But then I also said, you know what? There's people out there that just need me every so often. So you want a one-off call, 40 minutes, one issue, you want to pass it by me, we vent it out, and you get an answer of what to do next, you can hire me for 40 minutes. You want a full 90-minute business audit where I literally 90 minutes plus a pre-form that you have to fill out. In 90 minutes, I have a very innate talent that I can dig deep fast, and you will walk away with 5, 6, 7, whatever it is, a roadmap of the areas that you can go back and you can work on and fix with how to do it. And that's a 90-minute program. So I have those two, and those are one-offs. You can order those whenever you want.
that's great.
6-month program is just one that I do. That is, I have 10 openings, and right now I only have 2 spots open. And
6 months from now, it'll open up again.
It opens up again unless that person has
Graduated.
graduated and wants to then move into another 6 months. See?
And I could see how
But
it could be beneficial. Deep dive, go super intense for 6 months, then take a break, and then get to that next level, and then bring you back in to get to that next level again.
Yes. And that's why I built school, the Built to Profit classroom. That is a monthly fee. It's a group call. You get access to all the classes, and you work on your own. You get to listen to me an hour during the week, and I can do Q&A, and I can help you with some problems there in a group setting.
Kind of like what you did with Mike Ferry, where you bought the tapes and did it on your own.
Exactly. So now you get inside to the back end and you get the classrooms, and I have
That's
things
a
like the
great idea.
CRM controller and how to hire your first assistant, and the part 1 and part 2 of transactional listing coordinators. So how to do that. So it ties to the operations and processes side to help you build stuff. And then the group calls are a lot of talks like this.
I love it. Gosh, Yvonne, I've just been so great and so exciting. I love talking to you, but I want to respect your time. And I do always love to end my interview with the same question. And it'll be interesting to hear what you say. If you had to move to a brand new city you've never lived in, never been in, and you don't know anybody, the only thing you have is your wisdom and your experience, all those years of experience, what's the first thing you would do to scale as fast as you can?
It's interesting you say that because I did that when I went to Idaho, although I didn't do it with a whole heart. Okay. The very first thing I would tell you is you have to go in wholeheartedly. You have to know and have a plan. So if you go to a new market and you're there, I would tell you it depends on the market. So let's say you're in what market in Florida?
Tampa Bay.
You're in Tampa Bay. Let's use an area like Naples. Okay. Or Clearwater, some of those areas. They're more resorty in that. If you're doing those, I would be going into a non-owner occupant of where I get the addresses and any information, emails, phone numbers. I would target market on Facebook, on YouTube, full-blown YouTube, and I would be targeting non-owner occupants in that area if it's any kind of an area that attracts non-owner occupants.
I love that.
That would be the number one thing I would do. And then, of course, I would always go into the basics. If you're in a new area, you need to go meet people. You got to get belly to belly. Our business is belly to belly. Now, some of the new marketing people will tell you, get on Instagram, get on YouTube. Yeah, all of that. That's a given. You have to do that. However, that doesn't replace joining the Chamber of Commerce, joining the Business Bureau, going and meeting people, joining a yoga class, okay? I got a lot of business in my market of Riverside and Corona, California, when I went to the University of Riverside and took 9 years of Iyengar yoga training. And then went and started teaching at yoga studios. I got a lot of business from that sphere of influence, okay? And it didn't take long.
Right.
It didn't take long to become known. If you have a talent like that, create a book club, right?
I think especially now in today's day and age where everything is Zoom and online and everything's so noisy, where you actually are going to be way more competitive if you do the belly to belly, because as humans, we need people. We need human touch. Yvonne, thank you so much. It's been so fun, and we'll have to stay in touch.
Thanks for listening to Rewriting Real Estate. If today's episode challenged your thinking or gave you a strategy worth trying, share it. The right move at the right time can change everything. Subscribe and listen in next week for more insight, more momentum, and more ways to grow your business your way.